Welcome back to Bot Bros, a segment of the AI-driven marketer where we separate the help from all the AI hype going on out there in order to help marketers advance their careers and actually start putting this stuff to work. So today we have a ton of news. It has been a heavy news week because there's lots of major releases.
Yep.
Good applications are finally starting to come out for some things that were released just a few weeks ago. And so we got a lot to get into. The big news that I got to kick it off with, because this is going to be the thumbnail title and all that kind of stuff, is ChatGPT 4.5 finally out in the wild. And I made good. Last episode, I said, by the time we get to this next Bot Bros episode, I'm going to upgrade to Pro. It was a good thing I did, because that's the only people who have access to this thing right now.
Yeah, I tried to update the app to see if I had access, but I definitely did not have access.
You do not have access.
No.
You will get access next week to 4.5 in the Plus account. The reason why they wanted to launch in both right away, but they didn't have enough servers ready to go. So they're like, okay, we're just going to put this out to Pro because this is going to be a bandwidth hog. It's going to be a memory hog. We need way more servers ready to go. We've been working on this, but we're 1 week away from deploying it to the point where we can get Plus users on it. So everybody will have it real soon. But if you're on Pro, now's a good time to jump over Pro if you want to test it out early. Maybe it's probably worth waiting a week unless you want to throw it down to $200.
$200.
I'm glad I did for other reasons I'll get into. But I will say, bro, it's fantastic.
Really?
4.5, it just kind of fills in it smooths out all the little rough corners about 4.0. You're like, man, it sounds good. It sounds like I'm talking to a person.
No.
It writes well. The humors come up a level. It's not like everything's like, whoa, like through the roof, but like you got to remember, like 4.0 was actually already pretty dang good. Like, yeah. I liked working with it all the time for all kinds of stuff. 4.0's made me laugh. 4.0's made me almost cry. Like, it's like not almost cry, but when you put in that prompt where you're like, hey, tell me something I don't know about myself based on what you've learned about me. You put in that prompt and it gives you feedback. You're like, oh. 4.5 more so across the board.
Wow.
And I repeated some of those prompts of like, hey, tell me something I don't know about myself. And I'm like, whoa, it hits even harder. And like in little hard to measure ways across the board. I did some tests with it and just say like, hey, take this blog post that I wrote, more like ChatGPT wrote for me earlier. And repurpose it into 3 LinkedIn posts. No other prompts other than turn this into 3 LinkedIn posts. They were good out of the gate. Hardly any tweaks needed to them. It just sounded good. Now, I've already have a lot of like prompts and instructions on the account level. So like it's pulling from those things and it knows a lot about me it kind of knows what I like at this point. That's why it's hard to move from ChatGPT because of all the memory features. You're like, I don't want to have to train a new system. But first impressions on 4.5, I think everyone's going to really like this thing. I think it's going to be good.
So tell me, Dan, why did they name it 4.5 and not 5.0?
Well, Sam Altman released a post 2 weeks ago or so.
Okay.
Maybe it was even a week. Gosh, it feels like we're living in like dog years. Like so much.
It was like yesterday.
So many AI updates are going on all the time. But he released a little bit of a roadmap. He's like, hey, 4.5 is almost here. This is going to be our last non-thinking model.
Okay.
5.0 is months away. So they said this was a week or two ago. They're like 4.5 is weeks away. 5.0 is months away. I've seen speculation from some news sites. Maybe they had a leak. I don't know, saying it could come out end of May. So that's just around the freaking corner. It's like end of February now. You're like, my gosh. And 5.0 is going to be a culmination of all the models together so that you no longer have to select 1 Pro, 4.5, whatever. It's just going to be like you ask it something, it delivers the right model for you. Right? It's just going to be smart. So because they were saving the big update for 5.0, that's a major update because right now it's a huge problem for most users. Most users are like, which model do I use? When do I use it? So confused. I have a good sense of the models and what I use for what, so I'm swapping between them all the time. but it is kind of annoying sometimes, right? You're like, especially because some of them only have certain use cases. You're like, oh, I want to use my reasoning model on my custom GPT. No, you can only use 4.0. You're like, dang it. So they put all these parameters on it. You're like, I don't know which model, can I not upload a document to this model? No. Okay, I have to go back to this model. Like you can search with 3.5, but you can't search with 0.1. Stupid things like that.
Yeah.
Or what is it? Not 3.5, 3.0.
That makes sense. Excited for 5.0. Get some simplicity, clarity for the common man to use it.
Yeah, I think 5.0 will be huge for the general market. Right now, 4.5, I'm just so happy because I don't really need the simplicity because I'm a power user and I swap between them all the time. But like just having that standard model that knows how to write well, communicate smoothly, has a better edge on its humor. The first thing I did with it is I just put in one prompt. I was like, "Hi." I'm just gonna talk to it like it's a person. Just throw out the most ambiguous thing ever. Hi, and it was like, "Hey Dan, how's it going?" I was like, "Oh my gosh,
it's amazing."
I was like, "So you're the new model, huh?" He's like, "Yeah. There's a lot of new stuff under the hood. You want to put it for a test run, or do I need to diffuse some skepticism?" I was like, "What the heck?"
That's amazing.
I'm like, "Hey, I'm not skeptical. I believe, man. I believe. I'm just curious." He's like, "Oh, that's my favorite human quality." I was like,
"Oh my gosh. It's got bits, man. Everything's a bit."
Yeah.
That's funny.
So I think people are going to really enjoy it. This is getting to the point now where I'm like, okay, like it's funny because as a test, I was like, okay, like write me a short story with the full character arc. And at first I was going to say about a marketer falling in love with AI, but that was like a little bit too close to home. So I'm like, this is actually going to be happening soon. So I'm like,
movie
with
script,
the marketer falling in love with his website. I'm like, because that's harder to
it's more reasonable.
I didn't want to do the AI one because I'm like, this is like near future stuff, especially with this 4.5 update. People are going to start getting emotionally attached to this thing because it's just so smooth.
Right. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm excited to use it. For Plus users, I get to wait a few more.
Just hang in there. It's going to be great for all the content writing we've been doing as marketers, which I did a search, and that's like the most frequent thing people are asking about is how do I use ChatGPT to write? So using AI for content marketing and for writing content is still by far that's like most dominant use case by far. Like nothing else is even close to that. And 4.5 is going to change the game for a lot of people because a lot of people use ChatGPT, even though Claude was better at writing. You're like, well, until now. But that's kind of like the next big piece of the news is this was going to be headline news until ChatGPT 4.5 just dropped. But Claude 3.7 dropped at the beginning of the week. Which you're like, yeah, that's why 4.5 came a week early before it was ready because they wanted to suck all the wind out of 3.7 is what happened.
Wow.
Out of Claude, which is what they
I
do.
didn't even
They're
hear
like, hold
about...
my beer. We're gonna take this from you.
I didn't hear anything about Claude 3.7.
Yeah, no, it was a big update for Claude because Claude had been quiet since like October. Everybody else putting out major announcements through November, December, January, February, heavy announcements for everybody. Claude was just quiet. Meanwhile, Claude, I found out, is like everybody's favorite for code.
Really?
Yeah.
That's new.
Like it's like apparently like 1.0 and one, especially 1.01 or 0.1 and 0.1 Pro are particularly good at code, but those aren't available in the API. So all the coding applications that are third-party code like use Claude 3.5 and now 3.7 out, and all the developers are like freaking out about it. They're like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing ever. So most developers prefer Claude from what I can tell. And Claude's really good at code. And even I've done some tests even within my social media examiner where we've uploaded lots of data and said like, hey, can you count the amount of mentions of this thing and then tally it up? Claude's actually performing better than even some of the reasoning models for ChatGPT. It's just better at doing basic analysis, not like complicated ones, where O1 obviously is crushing on the more complicated analysis.
I guess I'm curious as to, we have ChatGPT 4.5 coming out, but then we just had Grok release 3. And obviously, if you're scrolling on any social media platform, you'll see how supposedly Grok is outperforming, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, all of the AI models. Like, I guess Perplexity is not an AI model separate from others, but where's Grok in terms of its just user
Grok
case?
stole the show for 1 week.
Yeah.
And then Claude dropped, and now ChatGPT just dropped. So it's like, it's a race, and the race is almost updating on a weekly or daily level now.
Right.
Which is just insane. And part of me is still like, when the heck is ChatGPT going to update their image engine? That's still hurting. But yeah, so I'm pretty confident ChatGPT 4.5 will take the leaderboard back. They do these blind split tests where people go to a website and they rank the responses and they just upvote the one and then it gets revealed which one they voted for afterwards. And that's kind of like, there's all the big math benchmarks and stuff for how smart they are, but like the true test is like, yeah, but do people prefer working with it?
Right.
What do people say about it? How do they vote it? So in these blind tests, there's a website that keeps track of it. And like Grok popped to the top of the leaderboard when it came out. I'm sure Claude probably had a hot second for a day. And now ChatGPT 4.5, I wouldn't be surprised if it stole the next response.
Pretty sure I saw a model, or at least a graphic, that showed Grok outperforming 4.5 already. Grok
really?
3.
Could be.
That was a social post, at least from Elon, so I don't know if that upholds. I'm currently looking for it to see if it was 4.0 or if it was 4.5. I'm pretty sure it was 4.5.
All I know is that until one of them like way outpasses ChatGPT, it's hard to rip users away. Like it can't just be better. It can't just be a little better. It has to be a lot better in order to rip people away.
Well, they offered their deep research for $40 a month versus $200 a month.
No, Grok Deep Research is free for now.
It's free right now, but I think...
But it won't be for long.
They just offered like a $40 plan. So I'm curious.
Pretty good. Yeah, Grok's Deep Research is good because it has access to X, and that'll be its thing. Speaking of deep research, that was the other big news. That was news last time we talked about deep research. But I feel like deep research is one of those incredible tools that everybody's like, wow. And now everybody has access to it in ChatGPT Plus. That came out this week. That was news. Like before, deep research was something you had to pay for in Pro. But now it dropped on Tuesday, I think. Now Plus users have access to deep research. So everybody's like, whoa, I got this tool. But everybody's like, what do I do with it? Right. So the use cases for deep research for marketers specifically has been kind of like, what do I do? A competitive analysis? I don't know. Okay. I actually found a really worthwhile prompt that I was like, oh, this is gold. And then I was so excited about it. I was going to send it to James Carberry. And then while I was texting it to him, I was like, wait, this is too good. I'm posting this to LinkedIn first, and then I'm going to send James the link to the LinkedIn post. That has become to date my most viral post and hasn't even been 24 hours yet, is this one prompt for deep research.
Really?
Yeah, it's pulled in 90,000 impressions on LinkedIn, which is a good bit. It's definitely my most viral post, and it'll probably hit 100K. So this one prompt is really, like, I knew it was good. I didn't realize how good it was until everybody was sharing it and commenting and being like, like getting the results from it. So if you have ChatGPT Plus or any of the deep research tools, really can do this well. I think Google and ChatGPT's deep research would do better at this. But here's the prompt. In fact, let me just pull it up and read it to you instead of trying to guess at what it is.
Did you find it?
It is, what are the questions your target audience, insert target audience, are asking the most frequently about your insert your topic of expertise? Look for them on social sites, forums, Reddit, Quora, and other places, insert target audience, ask questions. Find as many as possible, then categorize them and rank stack them by frequency. Format the report with the table at the top summarizing your findings, then make each category a heading to be followed by a quick summary of what you found for that category and about a dozen bullets of direct quotes that you found that represent that category. That's the prompt. Wow. There's nothing more powerful than finding out the questions that your audience is asking as a content marketer. Because if you can, especially if you can quantify it, if you know a lot of people are asking this question, chances are you should probably make some content about it.
Totally.
Because it's not just your audience, it's regarding your expertise, so it's, you might be selling to homeschool moms, but if your company sells nutrition products to homeschool moms, then you want to see what that specific target demo is asking about nutrition, food, like baking recipes, that particular category, not about school, even though that might be their thing. Deep research can go deep enough and find all the little nooks and crannies where these things are hidden. It's actually really difficult to go and scrape Reddit and Quora and the internet to go find them all. It would take a long time because you'd have to find them, put the question in an Excel sheet, benchmark it against the URL, and then just create a huge amount of them,
right?
And then go back and painstakingly categorize them, reorganize them, and then think about it. But this one can get it done for you in about 20 minutes.
When you were speaking about getting that kind of information from comments, from posts, the only person who I've heard do that, but more from a subjective level, is Gary Vaynerchuk, who says he reads the comments on every post just to keep up to date with what he thinks his audience wants and wants to see, wants to read, wants to know. But now you have something that can actually format in a way that could be read instantly.
And analyze it, right?
Yeah,
so somebody was like, someone told me, isn't that just social listening? I'm like, yes, but I've done social listening, like back when I remember when it was really like the first time you could do social listening, and you'd pull up Hootsuite and pull up a filter on Twitter for mentions of your brand or your topic, whatever it was. And you're just scrolling through like a mindless mass. And sometimes there was nuggets in there, but like you had to scroll for a while to pull them out. I'm like, this one takes all the search out of it.
Yes.
Organizes it. And then just gives you the highlights that you need to know. It's a big difference. Plus social listening's just like X. I'm like, what else? That's about it, because you can't do social listening on Facebook. You can on Instagram and a few others. It's like limited. And I'd say Grok is still really good. Like Grok's deep research with this prompt, and you force it to only use X, would be a great supplement to any of the other deep research, since they don't have access to X anymore.
Well, and deep research goes through everyone's personal text messages too, so you can get really, just kidding.
Oh, marketers wish, but I think
boundaries.
Yeah, I heard something the other day where I was like, man, we wish, but at the same time, as a consumer, I would hate this. I can't remember what it was, but like there's things that marketers wish they had access to, but then they knew every company would have access to theirs, and they're like, nah, I don't want to go that far.
Privacy is important.
So deep research, I think now that I know that hit so hard on LinkedIn, you better believe over the weekend I'm going to be putting together like some kind of lead magnet with all my favorite deep research prompts. I'm not a prompt guy because I think it's just better to learn how to speak to it and delegate to AI without having to pull a prompt library, because I find that's just burdensome. But deep research, I find, actually does do better with structured prompts. And a lot of these prompts actually do work from marketer to marketer. Like when I wrote that one and I was like, oh, James Carberry would really like this. And then I was like, oh, maybe lots of people would like this. And I put it on LinkedIn. Didn't think it would hit that hard, but it did.
No, that fits in so many categories. I was even thinking of other positions I've had. I'm like, oh, I should reach out to my old marketing manager and say, have you used this prompt yet for yourself? Yeah, I resonate with it.
So next episode, lead magnet. I'm just going to call it out so that I can actually pressure myself into getting it done. Make a promise.
Did you ask Chat to look at that prompt and say, tweak it to make it better?
No.
Or did you write that prompt by yourself?
I wrote it by myself.
Wow.
I took a few passes at it. I actually tried it a couple of times and then found that, like, the first time I did it, the formatting was just horrible. And that I did it 3 times before I sent it out. And that's why I'm so glad I upgraded to ChatGPT Pro, because I wasn't worried about using my 10 instances of deep research.
Yeah, right.
That's going to be a limiting factor for a lot of people, because you're going to be play conservative with it, which means it's a problem, because then you won't experiment, which means you won't actually get good at it. So that's a major advantage for a pro account, is that you have so many instances of it. You could just be like, throw away. Ooh, let's take a little tweak, do it again, and get more reps in. I'm so glad I upgraded to pro, if only just for that one thing, just getting more reps on deep research, because I didn't realize it, but that's going to actually be a deal. It's almost like starting over with AI, because it works differently, and you have to think about how it's doing it. It's going off and doing 30, 40 minutes of work, and you have to give it really clear instructions to keep it, because it really matters when it's thinking that hard. It's checking your answer and referring back to it. So the more specific you can be, the better it gets. And clarity matters. You just can't throw a ton of context at it, because it'll start getting confused. So like how well you craft the prompt actually is going to matter for deep research. So that's it on the news. Those are the big highlights. 4.5, Claude 3.7. Oh, one other thing. Claude 3.7 update. This is another big update. The reason why Claude launched this week is because Amazon made a big update. Because who backs Claude? Amazon. So under the hood, Amazon's new AI overhaul is powered by Claude.
Wow.
Right? And Amazon, of course, is working on their own models, and Jeff Bezos has rolled up his sleeves, and it's the only thing. He went back full time into Amazon because he'd kind of like semi-retired. He had delegated the CEO position. He's like, I'm just on my yacht, just doing space stuff now. But he's gone back full time into Amazon, working just on AI.
Wow.
Building their own models, trying to scale it up. They got their own AI hardware stuff. But of course, Claude, to keep up, they're like, well, we need to do a big deal with one of the frontier models. OpenAI is already tied up with X. I mean, not X. That's like their main competitor. OpenAI is already tied up with Microsoft, and Apple's kind of in bed with them too. Right, with its integration. So Microsoft and Apple are kind of all in on ChatGPT. So Amazon went to Claude and put in a ton of money, invested a ton of money. That's how they kind of buy it without buying it. They invest a ton of money into it, own a percentage of it, so they can kind of get early reviews, get access to the models, not have to pay licensing fees. So Amazon just released its all new Alexa, powered probably by Claude 3.7.
Wow.
I don't trust Amazon's speech tech.
Why?
I got rid of Alexa a while ago and opted into Apple's thing, because I'd read reports that it was actually like using data in ways that nobody cared. There's a reason why Alexas are priced, like the Dots are so priced so low. They're like they sell them at not a loss, but like definitely at cost.
Right.
Because they want the data, but also they want to make it just as easy as possible for you to buy stuff from Amazon. So because of that, I stepped away from the Amazon ecosystem. I still am a Prime member, but like that's it. I used to be an Amazon Music member, and I used to use their cloud storage. I got rid of both those things, and now I'm all in on Apple because they're the most privacy focused of all the big companies, because they charge more up front and then you don't lose so much on the back end.
Yeah, not that this has anything to do with AI, but the reason TV prices have actually dropped in price during an inflation time is because companies are selling them at almost a loss just to get the research and data from it. China's selling us vacuums that connect to the internet. Like, for what reason? It's because it's listening. That's why. And this isn't even like conspiracy theory. It's like, why does my rolling wet mop vacuum need to connect to the internet? It needs updates? No. It's like, I don't think so. Anyways, yeah, I totally respect the need for privacy, which I think more advanced AI, it's going to make it harder to have that privacy.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be great for marketers, but on the consumer level, you're like,
you're on the right side of this ship. I'll tell you that.
So Amazon is in the game doing what they do. And again, I don't know. There's a lot of haters out there on AI, And of course, this AI thing's created a pretty deep divide. And everybody listening to this podcast, you're on one side of the divide. If you're on X or LinkedIn, then you know there's definitely another side that hates this thing. But I'm like, how could you not be in on this game when like all the smartest companies are like fully aligning with this and know that this is where they're investing? And it's like, well, it's because you might be able to say like, well, they're profiting from this. Of course they are. And I'm like, yeah, but you think they would double down on something they didn't think was going to be really big? All of them are losing money on this right now and will be for the next year, 2 years, 3 years. They're investing heavily because they know it's going to be a big deal. All of them are in this game now. Like, literally. So all the big FANG companies are doing it. FANG as in like, if I can remember them all, Facebook, Apple. I can't remember the M. Oh, well, no, it's N, Netflix, Google. I think there's some other one. Nvidia's the other end, 2 N's. Anyway, they're all going after it. So poll of the week. I did a little poll. I didn't get a lot of responses this week. Usually I get over 100 votes. This time I only got 28. But I asked, does your company provide training on AI? And I was surprised by the results. Again, there's 4 options. The options were yes, it's required. Yes, it's optional. No, they talk about it though. And no, they discourage AI use. We had 29% on the first one. Yes, it's required. I was surprised it was as high as it was. But again, the audience I have on LinkedIn is more AI, is more tech savvy. It's more tech marketers.
Right.
And most of them are way more like innovators and early adopters. And their companies are too. 18% at yes, it's optional. So they are being provided with training on AI. And then 43% said no, they talk about it though. That's the one I expected to be the highest, and it was. I expected it to be over like 50 to 60% though. I thought it was going to be even higher than it was, even for tech companies. And then 11% of no, they discourage AI use.
I'm surprised by the last that there was 11% by they discourage AI use. That's high.
Yeah, the big companies, man, are nervous because again, as a big company, you have to think about all the risks because it's way easier to lose the money than gain the money. You already have a money-making machine, and therefore it becomes a defense game. All big companies work like this. It's why I would never want to be a marketer for a big company because everything you ever write has to go through legal. Even when I was working for Sweetfish, we were pitching like some bigger companies like Facebook, and I was like, do we want to work with Facebook? Because every podcast episode we do has to be run through their legal team.
Yeah, a friend of mine made promotional videos for Chick-fil-A, and wow, the amount of scrutiny, every frame, every script, word. I mean, it was wow. I was shocked by how much they dictated the music. It was wild.
So, of course, a lot of employees at these companies are just using personal ChatGPT accounts because obviously it's hard not to. Like, it makes you so much more productive. You're like, well, like I need some ideas. And they just pull open their phone on ChatGPT. This is what's happening a lot. But so, of course, they have even sometimes they like have training required. It's actually like policy training on, hey, don't use ChatGPT. If you do, this is the consequence. Blah blah blah. So I wonder if some of the yeses are actually that. I think more and more these are going to go up. The no, but we're talking about it will continue to stay high for a long time because again, it's going to take a long time for companies to like actually adopt it, but they're going to be talking about it. But it's easy to talk about, hard to actually execute and put something in place. I kind of wonder the ones that say yes required. I should follow up with everybody who voted for that because again, there's only 28 votes, so there's probably only like 10 people that voted for that or less. I'll just manually DM them and say like, hey, like, what does that training look like? That'd be my next question.
That would be my question as well.
Are they just writing their own internal training and policy and that's what you're being trained on? Are you outsourcing it? Do you have a consultant you're working with? Did you find like a Udemy course? Did you find a university course? Because like, there's universities putting out these little tiny mini courses on agents and stuff. And I'm like, because I see people posting about them sometimes. I don't know how helpful they are, but they're out there.
It makes me skeptical that they have effective training. Only because if they didn't have someone like you, Dan, who was literally checking and scouring the news every day, practicing, using, seeing what works and doesn't work to actually have them feel equipped and actually trained. Who is up to date on how fast AI is being created? I guess unless it's just standardized like prompt writing and
all of my peers that are in like the AI space, even just AI marketing, like have a hard time keeping up with it. So I can only imagine, especially over the last 3 months, you're like, my gosh, it's freaking sprinting now. Like
they'd have to have a dedicated AI researcher just to see how their company or their position could best use and utilize.
the funny part is like most of the updates are fun and exciting, and some of them are really substantial. We've actually had some really like the three, like the Grok update, this 4.5, the Claude update. These are actually all substantial and pretty meaningful to marketers. Like if you use Claude, like this is going to be a big deal for you. If you're using ChatGPT, this is going to be a big deal for you. This is a major upgrade. But generally, most of the announcements that come out about AI are just like hype. They're just not useful. I get messages every day from people being like, "Have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this?" I'm like, "Nope, nope, nope." What do you think? I'm like, whatever. Because every tech company is now an AI company, at least most of them. So every update's an AI update, but most of them just aren't really that great. But if you don't know, then all those updates look like you're just falling behind all the time. So people have a perception that they're falling behind all the time. I'm like, actually, if you just work on the basics of like learning how to leverage ChatGPT, learning how to custom GPTs, let's like learn how to get good at prompting and then figure out how to build good custom GPTs is like, and build a lot of them, like learn how to build them out and like replicate your job with them. So you have a little army of custom GPTs. That would be next level. Like a lot of people don't know about that, but that's been out for over a year now, a year and a half now. And that's like the best place to actually still put in the reps of getting good at this is building those things out. So it's actually the older tech that you need to double down on, but I'm not sure what they're doing for training in companies. Cause my training just focuses on like, hey, learn how to think about what you want and then get good at testing it over and over again and then building in custom GPTs is how I do training. Because that's like it's the fundamentals, it's like the drilling, right, that nobody likes to do. That is the drilling of AI, prompt engineering and building custom GPTs. Have you built any custom GPTs?
No, I mean, I've put some simple tasks in for projects to make sure that it understands the basis of the project, the information that I'm plugging in, what I'm hoping for it to do, but I haven't built custom GPTs, which
You mean in ChatGPT's projects, the feature?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they kind of prompt you like, hey, give me clear instructions for what I'm doing with this information.
I feel like I need to go back and do another whole episode on just custom GPTs because I don't think people understand how important they are, which is why I'm overemphasizing it right now. If you're listening to this and you haven't built custom GPTs, that's the next level. Like, forget about all the other updates, custom GPTs. Like, go back through the episode library and go find all my episodes on building custom GPTs. That's what you need to do. This is how you level up. When everybody else is chasing the hype, switching from model to model, they're all wasting time. You need to drill the basics and just custom GPTs, prompt engineering. This is
I'm definitely in that category where I'm like, ooh, what's this shiny thing over here? Oh, how does this one sound? Ooh, what's deep research? So I'm definitely jumping around, looking
deep research worth jumping off.
Yeah, okay.
that one is shiny, but every once in a while something new and shiny comes out that's actually really substantial and will continue to be substantial for years. Deep research is one of those. Worth diving into right now and getting good at it and practicing it. It's almost worth everybody buying a pro license just for the next month, just to get in more reps of using it. Cause like I said, I think the limit of 10 a month, like that's a really hard limit. You will blow through them, which means you won't be getting in enough practice and trial and error in order to really hone it. So call it a training budget of $200 one time. And then that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to do it once and then I'm going to go back to plus. But by then I'll put in enough reps that I can make the most of those 10.
Have you compared deep researches across different platforms from like Grok to ChatGPT?
Oh yeah.
You find the ChatGPT's deep research is
yes.
deeper?
Yep. Interestingly, it's actually I thought when I first tested it on Plus that the Pro was substantially better, and I found out they're actually the same. But the difference with Pro is that you have the O1 Pro reasoning model, which was better than I thought.
Oh,
Like the difference between O1 and O1 Pro is actually pretty substantial. Because have you tried the deep research one out yet? Have you tried in Plus? Have you tried the deep research feature?
yeah. In
Yeah.
ChatGPT, I have.
You know how when you kick it off deep research, it asks you some questions and you answer them, and it goes into deep research mode and it has like a loading bar.
Yeah.
O1 Pro has that same loading bar without doing any deep research
Oh,
because of how long it takes to think about your question. So
well,
O1 Pro just takes a substantial more time to think, and therefore it's more expensive to run, which is why it's Pro. But it does. So you can actually pair O1 Pro with deep research in the Pro model of ChatGPT, and that makes it better
what do you
at
find
deep
the what
research.
what do you find the I don't know, I guess the deep markers of difference between ChatGPT and Grok in the deep research field?
ChatGPT will go deeper,
Really?
and its reasoning models are fantastic, are better than Grok's. Grok has some good reasoning model, but it's not as good as where ChatGPT's at, who's on the cutting edge of reasoning models.
The deeper deep research model, I like that.
Yeah, and it'll spend more time just accessing more sources. It'll spend more time thinking about it, which just makes its output better. The one thing Grok does a lot better, it has two things. One, it formats it way better without having you to say anything. It'll just come out and the report will be like skimmable and you'll be like looking at it. You're like, ooh. Chat GPTs,
I
unless you
did
tell
find
it,
that.
will format it like freaking garbage. It'll just be like one block of text and it'll have some bolding in there, but like it's absolutely garbage. Which is why you have to tell it to. And again, it's a good thing it has a reasoning model. It'll be like, oh, let me reformat this before I send it to them. The other thing Grok has is access to X. That will continue to be a major advantage for Grok.
Totally.
After that, its reports are shorter and not as thorough, but it's still really good. Google's is also really good. I really like Google's. It also comes formatted really well without you having to ask for it, and I find it does a pretty deep research. Google's reasoning models aren't as good, so it's thinking about it is not as solid. But I'd say it's just as good as it's in some ways better than Grok because it's a longer report. It'll give you, a 2-page report. ChatGPT will give you like a 10-page report. Grok will give you a 2-page report. And then Perplexity's deep research model is not even worthwhile in my opinion. But I'm not a big Perplexity fan.
I
I don't
know.
do you use Perplexity? I'm like, I don't use Perplexity at all. A lot of people swear by Perplexity. I'm like, I don't get it. I just don't.
They just got used to its user face, I'm sure, and it just seems really convenient when it starts pulling up YouTube videos, and as it scans for information, it pulls up a multitude of different media of resources, so it feels kind of like more integrated with the internet. That would be my number one reason why people like it. Because when you're on ChatGPT, unless you make it look for videos and it provides links, and sometimes the links don't work when you click it on your phone, it's really annoying. But Perplexity is just a little bit smoother.
Yeah,
That'd
they
be my
definitely
only
got it on
guess.
AI search. They're the leader in AI search, but everyone's catching up to them. We'll see what they do. They just released a browser,
Oh,
apparently.
really?
Yeah, I'm like, you're going to compete against Chrome? Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's funny.
I got all my Chrome extensions that I can't part with because I've tried going to Safari multiple times and I'm like, I can't. It's just
No, I can't
Google's
either.
got that sucker on lockdown. Um, all right, last topic of the day is the viral post. And I pulled a snapshot from Twitter. This is from Nick St. Pierre. And he said, in just the past few weeks, that's funny because I took this snapshot a couple of days ago and I'm like, dang, this is already out of date. He said, in just the past few weeks, O1 Pro was SOTA or SOTA as in state of the art. O1 Pro was state of the art. DeepSeek R1 was state of the art. O3 Mini was state of the art. Grok 3 was state of the art. Claude 3.7 was state of the art. And now we have ChatGPT 4.5, now the state of the art, right? Can you feel the acceleration? And just to kind of give some context, like he didn't include the dates, but I went and found the dates. O1 Pro came out December 5th. DeepSeek came out January 20th. O3 Mini came out 31st of January. Grok 3 came out February 17th. Claude 3.7 came out earlier this week, February 24th. And even when I typed up this report, expected any time ChatGPT 4.5, what I'm reading from, well, it was launched yesterday on the 27th.
Wow.
I can't prepare for these episodes fast enough to keep up with the freaking news.
Crazy.
ChatGPT 5 sometime in May. Google will probably drop something next week or in the next couple of weeks. Who knows? They're overdue. It's been 2 months.
Wow.
That can you feel the acceleration? I'm like, my gosh. And maybe everybody's just like stumbling over themselves and we'll get a breather after a while. But who knows? I expect some image updates. Hopefully DALL-E gets an update soon. I don't know. Who knows? If we continue at this pace, it's been rapid fire for 3 months now. It's nuts.
Exciting. I think we should add a segment on this show called Time for the Nihilistic Perspective. The Nihilist's Perspective. Have you seen the video of the AI controlled robot on a bicycle jumping up a platform that's like 5 feet in the air?
No.
We've all seen the Boston Dynamic robots doing flips and carrying things where it almost looks like it was created with a, AI model video creation, but it's not. It's actually real. Well, there's a new video of an AI controlled robot controlling a bicycle where it jumps so high, stays on its 2 wheels, and then jumps off the platform. And they're saying it's getting better at learning how to do things like this because they have AI developed in the robot. So,
my gosh.
Anyways,
so like a robot's riding a bike.
It's controlling a bicycle. There's no pedals. It just has a motor to control the wheels. It is on one arm.
Oh, so there's no like humanoid robot on it.
No, it's just one arm attached to a bike, and then the main cell of the robot is like this backpack size, I don't know, computer that sits on this spring-loaded arm, and it's just jumping around on this bike and moving at the same time. Anyways, go watch it, and soon
put a link in the description to that.
AI will be controlling tanks.
Hence the nihilistic. You're like, I don't know. We can't end this show on a downer, bro. We're the optimist crew. We want to talk about the good things AI is doing.
This crew, but it's so fun to talk about.
I know. Lastly, I want to add a community highlight. I was going to launch a school community for AI-driven marketers, but ever since I got hired by AI Examiner, they have their own community, and that's the one that I'm actually engaged with on a daily basis. And I wanted to highlight it because I'm actually doing like news updates, live news updates, where everybody in the community comes in and we talk about what's going on every other week in our AI labs. I actually have a whole different video series in that community. Yeah, it's a paid premium community, but I'm doing a whole series of mini lessons where I've gone deep into a Google Notebook LM and how to use it for marketing. I've gone deep on ChatGPT projects, which is something I would have loved to do on this channel, but if you want it, that one's behind the AI Business Society in the community. But I wanted to highlight it here because we're going to be having some awesome conversations in the AI lab soon. So if you want to meet in a group and have conversations, check out the AI Business Society. You can go to danchez.com/society and it'll send you right there. You can learn more about it.